Earth fired the railgun, and the galaxy fell silent, Captain. Jin Wuhan watched the Kepler 442 system grow larger on his view screen as the Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The journey had taken 3 days, and every hour they had monitored the Union fleet's approach to Earth. The aliens were taking their time, making sure Earth understood the size of the force arrayed against them. All ships report status, Jinwu ordered. His small fleet had made it safely. 6 ships against the cold darkness of space, so far from home that light from Earth would take over 100 years to reach them. This system had no planets worth colonizing, just asteroids and dust and one particular rock that Dr. Jiho Kang had designated Target Alpha 7. Lieutenant Nari worked her console, coordinating with the other ships. Sensor network deploying now, Captain. We'll have complete coverage of the target area in 20 minutes. Jinwu nodded. They needed perfect data for this test. Every detail would be recorded and broadcast across the galaxy. The shot had to be clean, precise, and absolutely devastating. Anything less would make Earth look weak. Captain, his communications officer called out, we're receiving a transmission from the Union fleet. Admiral Taiwan wants to speak with you. Jinwu hesitated. Talking to the enemy before the test seemed risky, but refusing might be worse. Put him through. The alien admiral appeared on screen, his 4 eyes studying Jinwu with what might have been curiosity. When he spoke, the translation came through clear and calm. Captain Han, I have orders to prevent your test firing. Leave this system immediately and return to Earth. If you refuse, I am authorized to use force. Jinwu kept his expression neutral. Admiral, with respect, you're in Earth's solar system, and we're in an uninhabited system 127 light-years away. How exactly do you plan to stop us? Taewon's tentacles moved in a way that might have been a shrug. I can't. Not before you fire. But after you do, my fleet will destroy your orbital platform and any ship that defends it. Your demonstration will be your last act. The Admiral paused, and something in his alien face seemed almost regretful. Your species has courage. I respect that. But courage without wisdom leads to extinction. Please don't make me destroy brave people for no reason. Jinwu felt a chill run down his spine. The alien sounded genuine, almost sad. But orders were orders. My government has made its decision, Admiral. We're proceeding with the test. Then Earth will face the consequences. Taewon out. The screen went dark. Jinwu's bridge crew looked at him, waiting for orders or reassurance or something to make this moment less terrifying. He gave them the only thing he could calm confidence. The Admiral is doing his job. We're doing ours. Nari, status on the sensor network? Fully deployed, Captain. Target Alpha 7 is locked and tracked. We're ready to record. In Earth orbit, Engineer Summon Lee received the signal she had been waiting for. The fleet was in position. The sensors were online. It was time. She floated to the main control station, where her team had gathered. They had been with her for years, building this impossible machine, and now they would finally see if it worked. Power systems to maximum, Soman ordered. The platform hummed as 15 fusion reactors pushed energy into the capacitor banks. Lights dimmed throughout the station as every available watt of electricity was diverted to the railgun. Outside, the solar panels that covered half the platform glowed with heat from the energy flowing through them. Magnetic coils charging, one engineer reported. Projectile secure in the launch tube, said another. Targeting solution confirmed. Kepler 442 system, coordinates locked. Summon checked her readings one final time. Everything was perfect. Well, as perfect as something could be when you were about to fire a weapon that had never been tested at full power. The calculation said it would work. The simulation said it would work. But theory and reality weren't always the same. Dr. Minji Park stood in the observation deck with Commander Daeho and General Junho, watching through reinforced windows as the platform prepared to fire. Every screen around them showed different angles, different readings, different views of what was about to happen. Have we made a mistake? Minji asked quietly. Daeho didn't answer right away. He stared at the massive railgun, at the engineering, Marvel humanity had built and thought about all the ways this could go wrong. The Union could destroy Earth. The test could fail and make them look foolish. The weapon could malfunction and kill everyone on the platform. But staying weak was also a choice, and it guaranteed that Earth would never be more than a junior member of someone else's club. "We stopped making mistakes when we refused to bow," Deho finally said. On the bridge of the Harmonious Unity, Admiral Tewin watched his sensors as they tracked activity around the human orbital platform. Energy readings were spiking to incredible levels. Whatever the humans were about to do, it was big. "Admiral, the human platform is drawing enough power to run a city," his tactical officer reported. "Something's happening." Tewin opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, battle stations, prepare for possible hostile action, but do not fire unless fired upon. I want to see what they do." Back at Thunderbolt, Salmon's hand hovered over the final activation switch. This was it. 15 years of work, billions of dollars, the hopes and fears of an entire planet, all coming down to one button press. "All stations report ready," her second-in-command said. Salmon took a breath. "On my mark. Firing in 10, 9, 8. The countdown seemed to take forever, and no time at all. The platform shook slightly from the power running through it. The magnetic coils reached maximum charge. The projectile waited in the barrel, 40 tons of tungsten ready to be thrown across the galaxy. 3, 2, 1. Fire. Soman pressed the button. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then the capacitors released their stored energy all at once. The magnetic coils created a field strong enough to bend space itself. The projectile accelerated down the 3-kilometer barrel in just over half a second, faster and faster, until it burst out of the end at 5.2% of the speed of light. The recoil was enormous. Despite thrusters firing at maximum, the entire platform was pushed backward by 300 meters. The barrel glowed white-hot from the friction. A shockwave of distorted space-time rippled out from the firing point, visible on every sensor within a light year. And the projectile, a simple rod of metal, raced away from Earth at over 15,000 kilometers per second. Every ship in the Union fleet detected it. Every sensor array in the solar system tracked it. In less than 10 seconds, the projectile crossed Earth's orbit. In a minute, it passed Mars. In an hour, it would be beyond the edge of the solar system, still accelerating slightly from the incredible force that had launched it. On the Indomitable, Nari's sensors locked onto the projectile's path. Her calculations confirmed what everyone already knew. The shot was perfect. In 6 years, 3 months, and 14 days, that tungsten rod would arrive at target Alpha 7 in the Kepler 442 system and release its kinetic energy in a flash of destruction visible across a dozen light years. Admiral Tewin stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His sensors showed the projectile's speed, its trajectory, its unstoppable momentum. He had seen footage of human nuclear weapons, watched recordings of their early wars, studied their capacity for destruction. But this was something different. This was a bullet fired across the galaxy, and there was no shield that could stop it. No point defense system that could track something moving that fast, no armor that could survive the impact. The humans had built a weapon that ignored every defensive technology the Union had developed over 2,000 years. His communication officer looked up with wide eyes. "Admiral, we're receiving a message from Earth. It's on all frequencies, translated into every Union language." "Play it," Tewin ordered. General Junho's voice filled the bridge of every Union ship. This was a test. "The projectile is aimed at an uninhabited asteroid in the Kepler 442 system. Arrival time is 6 years, 3 months, and 14 days. We invite observers from any species to verify the target and witness the impact. This demonstration proves that Earth possesses the capability to strike any location in the galaxy with unstoppable force. The next shot doesn't have to be aimed at an empty rock. We hope it never is. Earth seeks peace, but we will have it as equals, not as subjects. Disarming is not an option. Negotiation is." The message ended. Silence filled Tewin's bridge. Finally, his tactical officer spoke quietly. "Admiral, what do we do?" Tewin looked at his fleet, 200 ships strong, the pride of the Union. Then he looked at the readings from that single shot. One projectile, one weapon, and suddenly, his entire fleet seemed very vulnerable. "We request new orders from the Council," he said, "because everything just changed." Earth fired the railgun and the galaxy fell silent. 3 weeks passed in silence. The Union fleet remained at the edge of Earth's solar system, neither advancing nor retreating. Admiral Tewin had requested new orders, but the Council was in emergency sessions that went on day and night. No one from the Union contacted Earth. No threats came. No negotiations began. Just silence. The waiting was almost worse than war would have been. Commander Suho An worked in a small office deep inside the Defense Force Intelligence Division. He was 30 years old with thick glasses and a talent for finding patterns in data. While everyone else watched the Union fleet and worried about invasion, Suho was reading. He had access to every communication the Union had sent to Earth since first contact. He had intercepts of transmissions between Union ships, coded messages they thought were secure, public broadcasts to their own citizens. Suho fed it all through translation programs and analysis software, looking for anything that might help Earth survive what was coming. What he found made him sick to his stomach. "Commander Deho, you need to see this," Suho said, bursting into the senior officer's quarters at midnight. Deho looked up from his desk, where he had been reviewing defense plans he knew wouldn't work. "This better be important, Suho." "It is. The Treaty of Balanced Force, the law that banned kinetic weapons? I found the original debates from when it was written 2,000 years ago. They're in the Union archives, poorly translated but readable." Deho sat up straighter, and it wasn't written to maintain peace. It was written by the 3 elder races to prevent younger species from ever threatening them. Every restriction, every limitation, every rule about what technology is acceptable, it's all designed to keep the power structure frozen. The elder races stay on top forever. Everyone else stays weak. Suho pulled up documents on Deho's screen, highlighting sections as he explained. "Look at this. A species called the Vren developed advanced missile technology 400 years ago. The Council convinced them it was destabilizing and helped them dismantle it. 50 years later, the Vren asked for elder race status. They were denied. They're still second-tier members today. The Karathi figured out quantum computing that would have revolutionized communication, also banned as destabilizing. The Threx created biological enhancements that would have extended their lifespans, banned for ethical reasons. Every time a younger species gets close to something that might make them equal to the elders, the Union finds a reason to shut it down." Deho read through the documents, his expression growing darker. "How many species?" "At least 40 that I've found evidence for. Probably more. The pattern is always the same. Join the Union, get access to basic technology, then get slowly suppressed through regulations and treaties until you accept your place in the hierarchy. And if you resist," Suho pulled up another file. "The Kalesh tried. 200 years ago, they refused to stop developing their weapons. The Union blockaded their home system for 15 years until their economy collapsed. Then they were welcomed back as cooperative members." Deho leaned back in his chair thinking, so the ultimatum to dismantle Thunderbolt was never about peace. It was about keeping us weak, yes sir, and the silence we're experiencing now. I think the Council doesn't know what to do. We called their bluff. We built something they can't counter and we proved it works. For the first time in 2,000 years, a younger species has real power. Professor Boyoung Lim published her research paper 3 days later. She was a xenosociologist who had been studying galactic culture since first contact. Her paper was titled, "The Myth of Balanced Peace," and it spread through Earth's networks like fire. She documented everything Suho had found and more. She showed the statistical impossibility of only 3 species maintaining control for so long in a galaxy of 847 members. She demonstrated how the Treaty of Balanced Force had calcified technological development, keeping everyone at similar levels except the elders who quietly advanced in secret. The paper was meant for academic journals, but news organizations picked it up. Within days, unauthorized translations appeared in dozens of Union languages. It spread through the galactic internet to other species who had never questioned why they remained junior members for centuries. On a water world called Vel, a young scientist read the paper and realized her people's fusion engine research had been shut down for the exact reasons Boyoung described. On a desert planet called Thark, military officers looked at their obsolete weapons and wondered why the Union had convinced them better ones were unnecessary. On 100 worlds, people started asking questions. The Union could no longer keep the silence. They had to respond. Speaker Yunjiko received the invitation personally. She was Earth's primary diplomat, a woman in her 50s with gray-streaked hair and a reputation for never backing down in negotiations. The message asked her to attend emergency talks at a neutral station hastily built at the midpoint between Earth and the Union's central worlds. "It's a trap," General Junho said when she told him. "Maybe," Yunji agreed, "but it's also an opportunity. They're willing to talk instead of shooting." That's progress. She took a small ship with minimal escort and made the journey. When she arrived at the neutral station, she found it crowded. Admiral Taewon was there, looking uncomfortable in a diplomatic setting. Representatives from 24 major Union species waited in the conference chamber. And, surprisingly, delegates from some of the younger species who had read Boyoung's paper. The negotiations were brutal. The elder races wanted Thunderbolt dismantled and the technology shared with the Union for proper regulation. They wanted Earth to apologize for destabilizing the galaxy. They wanted everything to go back to the way it was. Yunji refused every demand. Instead, she made a counter-proposal. Earth will keep the railgun. We will not share the technology, but we will also not use it aggressively. It exists purely for defense and deterrence. In exchange, all technological restrictions on humanity are lifted. And more than that, other young species must be given the same freedom to develop their own defensive capabilities without Union interference. The elder race representatives were outraged. One of them, a being made of crystalline structures that reflected light in angry colors, stood up and shouted through his translator, "You would arm the entire galaxy? Create chaos and war? The Treaty of Balanced Force has kept peace for 2 millennia. Yunji met his angry stare calmly. "The Treaty of Balanced Force has kept you in power for 2 millennia. There's a difference. Real peace doesn't require one side to stay weak. It requires mutual respect and mutual deterrence." Admiral Taewon surprised everyone by speaking up. "She has a point. My fleet could have destroyed Earth's orbital platform, but at what cost? If they fire that weapon while we approach, they could destroy half my ships before we get in range. For the first time, a younger species can make us pay dearly for aggression. That's not a threat to peace. That's the foundation of it." The chamber erupted in argument. Elder races accusing Taewon of treason. Younger species voicing support for Earth's position. Moderates trying to find compromise. The debate went on for 3 days. Finally, they put it to a vote. It wasn't binding, but it would show which way the galaxy was leaning. The question was simple. Should the Treaty of Balanced Force be amended to allow species more technological autonomy, while maintaining bans only on true extinction-level weapons? Yunji watched the tally appear on her screen. It was close. Many species were afraid of change. Many more were afraid of the elders. But enough were tired of being held back, tired of seeing the same faces in power for centuries, tired of accepting that some species were just naturally superior. The vote passed by a narrow margin. The Treaty of Balanced Force would be amended for the first time in 2,000 years. It wasn't everything Earth wanted. The elders would still have influence. There would still be restrictions, but it was a beginning. Species would now have the right to develop their own defensive technologies. The age of enforced weakness was ending. As the conference ended and delegates began to leave, Admiral Taewon approached Yunji privately. "You know what you've started?" he asked. "The galaxy will never be the same. Change is coming whether the council likes it or not." Yunji nodded. "I know. That's the idea." Taewon's tentacles moved in what might have been respect. "Your species is young and foolish and dangerous, but you're also brave. I hope you survive what's coming." "We will," Yunji said, "because we're not alone anymore. Look around this station. How many younger species are talking to each other right now? Species who never spoke before. How many are thinking about what technologies they've been told not to develop? You can't put this back in the box, Admiral." "The door is open." Taewon looked around and saw that she was right. In corners of the station, delegates from different worlds were exchanging information, making contacts, discussing possibilities. The old order was cracking. He left without another word. Yunji watched him go and allowed herself a small smile. Earth had fired the railgun and the echo was still spreading through the galaxy. Back on Earth, Commander Deho read the report from the negotiations and felt something he hadn't felt in months. Hope, not for easy victory or simple peace, but for a future where humanity stood as equals among the stars. Earth fired the railgun and the galaxy fell silent. The response from the Galactic Union came fast and hard. Within 12 hours of Earth's announcement, every human trade ship was ordered out of Union space. Diplomatic channels went silent. The embassy stations that had welcomed Earth just months ago now had their doors closed and locked. Humanity was alone. Engineer Selman Lee floated through the zero-gravity corridors of the orbital platform that housed Project Thunderbolt. She had not slept in 30 hours. Outside the thick windows, Earth hung like a blue marble, beautiful and fragile. Somewhere down there, people were panicking. Up here, Selman had work to do. The railgun stretched 3 kilometers through the center of the platform, a massive tube surrounded by enough technology to power a small city. Magnetic coils lined every meter of its length, each one precisely calibrated. Capacitor banks the size of buildings waited to release their stored energy in a single devastating pulse. It was the most complex machine humanity had ever built, and it had never been fired at full power. "Systems check," Selman said into her comm. Her engineering team was scattered throughout the platform, monitoring different sections. "Magnetic coils operational," came the first response. "Capacitor banks at 98%, said another voice. "Cooling systems." Green. "Targeting computer online." Selman made notes on her tablet. Everything was working. But working in tests and working during an actual firing were very different things. At full power, the railgun would draw enough electricity to black out a continent. The recoil would push the entire platform backward despite thrusters fighting to hold it in place. And the projectile itself would leave the barrel at 5% of light speed, moving so fast that relativity became a factor in the calculations. Down on Earth, the streets were full of protesters. Councillor Yoon Hanam stood on a stage in Seoul, speaking to thousands of people. She was a small woman with a powerful voice, and she believed Earth was making a terrible mistake. "They will destroy us," she shouted. "The Union has 847 member species. They have been traveling the stars for millennia. We've had space travel for barely 300 years. We are children playing with fire, and we will burn." The crowd roared agreement. Similar protests were happening in every major city. Fear was spreading faster than news. Parents held their children tight and wondered if war was coming, but not everyone was afraid. In other cities, different crowds gathered. They waved Earth flags and chanted slogans about freedom and independence. They had watched the recordings of Ambassador Hyon being dismissed like a servant. They had read the articles about how the Union controlled younger species through technological restrictions. They were angry and they wanted Earth to stand tall. Dr. Minji Park ignored the protests. She had locked herself in the laboratory, analyzing data from the Union's own technology. During first contact, the aliens had shared some of their devices as gifts. Minji had taken them apart molecule by molecule, studying how they worked. What she found was disturbing. The Union's weapons were powerful but wasteful. Their particle beams required enormous amounts of energy to do moderate damage. Their plasma cannons were impressive to look at but inefficient. They had focused all their development on energy weapons, probably because the Treaty of Balanced Force pushed them in that direction. But kinetic weapons, simple objects thrown really fast, had been forgotten. The physics was basic. Mass times velocity equals momentum. Add enough velocity and even a small object becomes devastating. At relativistic speeds, a tungsten rod would hit with more force than a nuclear bomb, and there was no way to stop it. Shields designed for energy weapons would be useless. Minji realized something that made her hands shake. The Union hadn't banned kinetic weapons because they were too dangerous. They banned them because they couldn't defend against them. All their advanced shields and armor were designed for the wrong threat. Captain Jinwoo Han stood on the bridge of the UEDF battlecruiser Indomitable, watching his crew prepare for departure. They were heading to the Kepler 442 system, where the test would happen. 5 other ships would go with them, enough to set up a sensor network and protect the test site. Jinwoo had served in the Defense Force for 20 years. He had fought against pirates and rescued stranded colonists. But he had never faced an alien military, and the thought scared him more than he wanted to admit. Still, he kept his face calm and his voice steady as he gave orders. "All ships, this is Han. Final departure check. Sound off." One by one, his captains reported ready. These were good people, well-trained, but untested against the Union. If things went wrong, they might have to fight a battle they could not win. Lieutenant Narration, his weapons officer, looked up from her console. She was young, barely 25, with quick eyes and steady hands. "Sir, long-range sensors are picking up something at the edge of the solar system." Jinwoo felt his stomach drop. "Show me." The main screen changed to display a tactical view. Red dots appeared at the outer boundary, dozens of them moving toward Earth in formation. "It's a fleet," Nari said quietly. "Union signature. I count 200 ships. They'll reach Earth orbit in 72 hours. The bridge went silent. Every person there understood what this meant. The Union wasn't waiting for the 30-day deadline. They were coming now, and they were bringing enough force to make sure Earth couldn't refuse. Jinwoo opened a channel to headquarters. "Command, this is Indomitable. We have confirmed Union fleet approaching. Request orders." Commander Daeho's face appeared on screen. He looked older than he had 2 days ago, the weight of command pressing down on him. "Proceed with the mission, Captain. Get to Kepler 442 and set up for the test." "We're not backing down." "Understood, sir." Jinwoo closed the channel and turned to his crew. "You heard him. All ships execute departure burn. We have a schedule to keep." The Indomitable and her sister ships left Earth orbit, their engines burning bright against the darkness of space. Behind them, Earth waited. Ahead of them, an empty system waited for a demonstration that would change everything. On the Union flagship Harmonious Unity, Admiral Taewon-yoon studied the tactical display with 3 of his eyes while the 4th watched his bridge crew. He was Velthani, a species that looked like a cross between a human and an octopus with gray skin and multiple limbs. He had commanded fleets for 40 years and served the Union with honor, but this mission made him uncomfortable. The orders were clear. Force Earth to dismantle the railgun or destroy it for them. Show the humans that defiance has consequences. Make an example that other younger species will see and fear. Taewon had read Earth's history. He knew they had barely escaped destroying themselves with nuclear weapons centuries ago. He knew they were violent and stubborn and proud. He also knew they were capable of surprising creativity and fierce courage. Forcing them into a corner might not go the way the Council expected. "Admiral," his tactical officer said, "the human fleet is leaving Earth orbit. 6 ships heading out system." "Let them go," Taewon said. "They can't escape what's coming." But in his mind, he wondered. The humans were planning something. That much was obvious. The question was what, and whether it would matter against 200 Union warships. Back on the Thunderbolt platform, Soman finished the final checks. Everything was ready. The projectile was loaded, a solid tungsten rod 40 tons in mass. The power systems were charged. The targeting computer had locked onto the coordinates in Kepler 442, provided by Dr. Jiho Kang, the astrophysicist who had spent weeks calculating the perfect shot. She opened a comm channel to Earth. "Thunderbolt to command. We are ready for firing on your order." "Stand by, Thunderbolt," came the response. "The fleet needs time to get into position." Soman looked out the window at Earth one more time. Somewhere down there, her mother was probably praying. Her father was probably angry at her for not coming home. Her little brother had sent her a message saying he was proud of her. She hoped this would work. She hoped the Union would see sense. But most of all, she hoped that when Thunderbolt fired, the whole galaxy would understand that Earth was not a species that could be pushed around. The wait had begun. Earth fired the railgun, and the galaxy fell silent. The crystal chamber stretched high above Ambassador Hyeon Choi's head, catching the light from 3 different suns that shone through the transparent dome. He stood alone on the human platform, a small circle of metal surrounded by hundreds of alien delegates. Some had wings, others had tentacles, and a few looked almost human except for their silver skin or extra eyes. This was the Galactic Union Council, and Hyeon had been summoned. The speaker, a tall being covered in blue scales, raised 4 arms for silence. The chamber went quiet. Hyun felt his heart beating faster. He had been Earth's ambassador for only 6 months, and nothing in his training had prepared him for this moment. "Representative of Earth," the speaker's voice echoed through translation devices. "Your species has violated the ancient laws that keep our galaxy at peace. You have built a weapon that threatens the balance we have maintained for 2,000 years. Hyun swallowed hard. They knew about Project Thunderbolt. The secret was out. The Galactic Union Council has made its decision, the speaker continued. Earth must dismantle the orbital railgun platform within 30 standard days. If you refuse, sanctions will be placed on your world. Trade will stop. Your ships will be banned from Union space. If necessary, military action will be taken to remove this threat. The words hit Hyun like a physical blow. He wanted to argue, to explain, but the speaker had already moved on to other business. The audience was over. Hyun walked out of the chamber on shaking legs, his mind racing with questions. How did they find out? What would Earth do? Could humanity really stand against 847 alien species? Back on Earth, Commander Dae-ho Kim received the news in his office at the United Earth Defense Force headquarters. He was a short man with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. He read the message 3 times, then called an emergency meeting. Dr. Minji Park arrived first. She was young for a lead physicist, only 32, with black hair always tied in a practical ponytail. Behind her came Captain Jin Woo-han, tall and serious in his military uniform, and General Jun-ho Park, the oldest person in the room at 65. They want us to destroy Thunderbolt, Dae-ho said without greeting. He projected the Union's ultimatum on the wall screen. Minji stood up quickly. That's impossible. Do they understand what they're asking? Thunderbolt isn't just a weapon. The technology could revolutionize everything. Space travel, asteroid mining, cargo transport. We spent 15 years building it. They don't care about that, General Jun-ho said quietly. He had a deep voice that commanded respect. They care about power, and we just showed them we have something they fear. Dae-ho pulled up classified files on his screen. I've been studying the Galactic Union for months. Something doesn't add up. They claim to be a peaceful federation, but look at the patterns. Every species that joins them gets weaker, not stronger. They share basic technology, but nothing advanced. They have rules about what weapons you can build, what engines you can use, even what kind of communication systems are allowed. Jinwoo frowned. Are you saying it's a trap? That they keep younger species weak on purpose? I'm saying that in 2,000 years, the same 3 species have controlled the Council. The same 3 species have the best technology, the biggest fleets, the most colonies. Every other species, including ones that joined centuries ago, are still using the same level of technology they had when they first made contact. Minji sat back down, her face pale. The Treaty of Balanced Force. They made us read it during first contact training. It bans certain technologies in the name of peace. I never thought about it before, but kinetic weapons are on that list. Momentum-based strategic systems, they called them. Exactly, Dae-ho said. And now we've built one. A big one. The room fell silent. Outside the window, Earth looked peaceful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents. Billions of people going about their lives, unaware that their world might soon be at war with the galaxy. What are our options? Jinwoo asked. General Jun-ho stood and walked to the window. We can comply. Dismantle Thunderbolt, apologize, and hope they let us stay in the Union. We'll be safe, but we'll always be second-class citizens in the galaxy. Or, Minji asked. Or we refuse, Dae-ho said. We keep the railgun and face the consequences. That's suicide, Jinwoo said. They have thousands of warships. We have maybe 200 combat-ready vessels. They have technology we don't understand. They've been traveling the stars for thousands of years. Dae-ho smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. They have numbers. They have experience. But they've never faced a weapon like Thunderbolt. Do you know why kinetic weapons are banned, Minji? She thought for a moment. The treaty says they're too destructive and destabilizing. But why? Their plasma cannons can destroy planets. Their particle beams can cut through anything. Why are they afraid of a railgun? Understanding dawned on Minji's face. Because you can't stop it. Energy weapons can be blocked with shields. Missiles can be shot down. But a solid object moving at a significant fraction of light speed? There's no defense. The kinetic energy alone would be devastating. They banned kinetic weapons because they're the great equalizer, Dae-ho said. A younger species with a good railgun can threaten an elder race's dreadnought. They can't allow that. General Jun-ho turned from the window. So what do? We show them what we have, Dae-ho said. We do a test firing. A real one at full power where everyone in the galaxy can see it. We prove that Thunderbolt works, and we make it clear that dismantling it is not an option. They'll see that as an act of war, Jinwoo said. Maybe, Dae-ho agreed. Or maybe they'll see it as an act of equals. We're not attacking them. We're showing them that we can defend ourselves, that we deserve a seat at the table, not a place kneeling beneath it. The decision went up the chain of command all the way to Earth's president. There were heated debates in Parliament, protests in the streets, arguments in every language on every continent. Some said compliance was the only way to survive. Others said freedom was worth any price. 3 days before the Union's deadline, Earth's government made the announcement. They would not dismantle Project Thunderbolt. Instead, they would demonstrate its full capabilities in a test firing at an uninhabited system. The time for hiding was over. In orbit above Earth, engineer Salman Lee received the order and smiled. She had spent 10 years of her life building Thunderbolt. Finally, the galaxy would see what humanity could do. The countdown had begun. Earth fired the Railgun, and the galaxy fell silent. 2 years after the demonstration, Dr. Sun Wu-Che made a discovery that both excited and worried her. She worked in the Defense Force's Technology Monitoring Division, tracking developments across the galaxy that might affect Earth's security. Her job was to watch for threats, but what she found was something different. 3 species have built their own railguns, she told President Ji-won Seo during a private briefing. The Threx finished one 6 months ago. The Karathi just tested theirs last week, and the Velkin are halfway through construction on a platform twice the size of Thunderbolt. President Ji-won was a tall woman in her 60s who had led Earth through the crisis with the Union. She looked at the report spread across her desk and frowned. That was faster than we expected. How did they do it? Once we proved it was possible, the physics wasn't that hard to figure out, Sun Wu explained. The Union had convinced everyone that kinetic weapons were too complex or too dangerous. But we showed them it could be done. Now everyone's trying. Are they threats to Earth? No, ma'am. All 3 species have approached us offering alliance. They want what we wanted, the ability to defend themselves and negotiate as equals. The Threx actually sent us a thank you message for inspiring them. Ji-won stood and walked to her window, looking out over the rebuilt city. 2 years ago, there had been riots in these streets, people afraid that Earth's defiance would lead to destruction. Now the streets were calm, the economy was strong, and humanity had gone from isolated newcomers to leaders of a growing coalition of younger species. The question is what we do about it, Ji-won said. We could try to maintain our monopoly on the best railgun technology. Keep the advantage we fought for. Or, Sun Wu asked, or we help them. Share what we learned. Build a network of species who can protect themselves. Commander Deho has been pushing for this option. What do you think, Madame President? Ji-won smiled slightly. I think a galaxy where only Earth has this weapon is unstable. What happens if I'm replaced by someone more aggressive? What if Earth gets into a conflict we can't back down from? Better to have allies who can stand on their own than to be the only person with a gun in a room full of scared neighbors. The decision was made. Earth would share technical assistance with allied species, not giving them complete designs but helping them develop their own solutions. It was a calculated risk, but it was also an investment in a different kind of galaxy. Captain Hana Bayek commanded Earth's new diplomatic defense fleet. The name was carefully chosen. Not an attack fleet, not a peacekeeping force, something in between. 6 heavy cruisers designed to protect Earth's interests and assist allies without being aggressive. Her first real test came when a conservative faction of the Union tried to blockade the Karathi homeworld. The Karathi had refused to stop their railgun development, and the conservative faction decided to make an example of them using the old methods. Cut off trade, pressure them economically, force them to comply. Hana received orders directly from President Ji-won. Proceed to the Karathi system. Make it clear that the blockade will not stand. The journey took 5 days. When Hana's fleet arrived, they found 16 Union warships in orbit around the Karathi homeworld, preventing any ships from leaving or entering. On the planet below, factories were shutting down from lack of raw materials. Food shipments weren't getting through. The pressure was working. Hana positioned her 6 ships between the blockade and the planet. Then she opened a channel to the Union commander. This is Captain Hana Bayek of the Earth Diplomatic Defense. Fleet, you are ordered to withdraw from Karathi space immediately. Your Union commander's response was cold. Earth has no authority here. This is an internal Union matter. Leave before you start a war you cannot win. We're not starting anything, Hana replied calmly. We're ending a blockade against our allies. You have 1 hour to begin withdrawal. If you don't, we will enforce free passage for Karathi ships. You have 6 ships. We have 16. We have 6 ships with railgun support. Our platform in the Karathi system is currently tracking all 16 of your vessels. Would you like to test whether your shields can stop a tungsten rod moving at 5% of light speed? The channel went silent. Hana waited, her crew tense at their stations. She was bluffing. Earth hadn't built a railgun platform in the Karathi system, but the Union commander couldn't know that for certain, and the risk of being wrong was his ship becoming a cloud of superheated plasma. 53 minutes later, the Union ships began to withdraw. No shots were fired. The blockade was over. The Karathi government sent formal thanks to Earth. More importantly, 6 other younger species sent quiet messages asking about defensive alliances. The galaxy was reshaping itself and Earth was at the center of it. But not everyone on Earth was happy with these developments. Counselor Unhanam, who had opposed the railgun from the beginning, spoke out against what she called military adventurism. We were supposed to defend ourselves, not become the galaxy's police force, she said during a parliamentary debate. Now we're taking sides in conflicts, making enemies, risking war. Is this really the peace we fought for? Commander Deho, now promoted to general, responded during the same session. We're not policing the galaxy. We're supporting allies who want the same things we do. The alternative is watching species get bullied and oppressed while we do nothing. That's not peace. That's cowardice dressed up as neutrality. The debate continued, but public opinion sided with Deho. Earth had tasted what it meant to stand up for itself, and most people didn't want to go back to bowing before the Union. In the Galactic Council, now relocated to a new neutral station, the elder races found their power slipping. For 2,000 years they had controlled every major decision. Now, a coalition of younger species voted as a bloc, and they had enough numbers to block elder race initiatives. The Treaty of Balanced Force had been amended, but the changes went deeper than technology. Species were talking to each other without Union mediation. Trade agreements were being made outside official channels. The old structure of control was coming apart. Admiral Taewon, now retired from active service, watched these changes with mixed feelings. He met with Ambassador Hyon at a small cafe on one of the neutral stations, sharing a drink made from earth plants that had become popular across the galaxy. You've broken something that took 2,000 years to build, Taewon said. It wasn't an accusation, just an observation. Hyon, also older now with more gray in his hair, nodded. We broke something that needed breaking. The question is what replaces it? Chaos, probably, at least for a while. Maybe, or maybe something better. A galaxy where species advance based on merit, not on how long ago they joined the club. Where peace comes from mutual respect instead of enforced weakness. Taewon's tentacles moved in his species' version of a shrug. You're optimists, you humans. It's one of your most annoying qualities. It's kept us alive so far. They drank in comfortable silence for a while. Then Taewon asked the question he'd been wondering about for 2 years. The Kepler 442 shot. It should arrive in about 4 more years, yes? 4 years, 1 month, 12 days, Hyon confirmed. We're sending observation ships to watch the impact. Other species have asked to send observers too. It's becoming a galactic event. A bullet traveling through space for 6 years just to prove a point. Not just a point, a promise. That we meant what we said. That we can do what we claimed. The galaxy needs to see that impact happen exactly when and where we said it would. Back on the Thunderbolt platform, Engineer Soman supervised the construction of new railgun platforms. Not just for Earth, but being built in partnership with allied species. Each one slightly different, adapted to local needs and technologies, but all based on the same principles that humanity had proved worked. She was 42 now, with a reputation as the galaxy's foremost expert on kinetic weapon systems. Universities offered her teaching positions. Corporations wanted her to consult, but she stayed on Thunderbolt, training the next generation of engineers who would maintain and improve what she had built. Do you ever regret it? One of her students asked during a break. Starting all this? Salman looked out at Earth, still beautiful, still home. Regret? No, we could have stayed quiet, stayed weak, and maybe been safe. But we wouldn't have been free. I don't regret choosing freedom. 6 years after the original firing, observation ships from 43 different species gathered near Target Alpha 7 in the Kepler 442 system. The date and time had been calculated precisely. Every ship had their sensors pointed at the unremarkable asteroid that was about to become famous. On the lead Earth vessel, Dr. Jiho Kang, the astrophysicist who had calculated the original shot, watched his countdown timer tick toward 0. His calculations had been perfect 6 years ago, but 6 years was a long time for errors to compound. If he was wrong, if the shot missed or arrived at the wrong time, Earth would look foolish. 30 seconds, someone announced. Jiho held his breath. The tungsten rod, traveling through space for 6 years at 5.2% of light speed, arrived exactly on schedule. It hit target Alpha 7 with the force of a large nuclear weapon, converting its enormous kinetic energy into heat and destruction.